Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first ever Moose Tracks live cooking event. I am Caroline. I will be your host for the evening, along with our friend, your favorite mascot, Trax the Moose. What's up, Trax? How we doing tonight? And then we have a very special guest with us tonight here for the first time ever, Chef Cory Barrett.
Hi, folks.
Chef Cory, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my background is primarily in pastry. I've worked in and around the United States. I've lived in the Kalamazoo area with my family. I'm a director of the pastry program at the Kalamazoo Valley Community College, and really just excited to be here today and to have some fun.
Yes, we're excited to have you. If you notice, Cory is the perfect height for Trax's antlers here. So Trax, why don't you tell us about your background? Oh, yeah, that's right. Trax doesn't talk. Well, Trax's hooves don't lend well to baking, so maybe we're going to get him out of here. Thanks for joining us, Trax.
Bye, Trax.
All right, Chef Cory, you said you are from Kalamazoo. That is Kalamazoo, Michigan, to our fans from all over the country.
Kalamazoo, Michigan.
And hopefully Canada. Fans, where are you joining us from tonight? We are interested to hear from you. Michigan is the home of Moose Tracks. We've been here since 1988.
1988. That's kind of, it's very nostalgic for me. It's kind of part of my childhood. And it would explain, I mean, I would be 8 at that point. I just dated myself, but that's all right.
80s baby.
80s, very 1980, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Moose Tracks is actually very much a part of my childhood. There was a ice cream parlor that I remember going to several times when I was a kid. And
I think a lot of our fans share that same experience.
Yeah.
Moose Tracks was a big part of childhood.
Definitely.
Especially in Michigan summer.
Yeah, for sure. Ohio wasn't all that far away. That's where I originally from.
Absolutely. So. We're Midwest originating. But really, you can find Moose Tracks all over the country now.
Yeah.
California, Florida, Texas.
All over the good places.
And Canada.
Perfect.
I'm sure we have some fans from Canada that will be tuning in tonight with us. And original Moose Tracks is really the flavor that started it all for us. And that's what we're going to be working with tonight. So that is vanilla ice cream, melt in your mouth peanut butter cups, and our famous Moose Tracks fudge.
Absolutely.
So that Moose Tracks fudge is what's constant in every flavor of Moose Tracks.
And we're going to be doing a Moose Tracks Affogato. And if it's Affogato's kind of it's like a coffee house classic, right? So
I'm like, explain that for the normal.
Yeah, I know, right? So an affogato is it's one of my favorite desserts, really, because I love coffee, so I love espresso. I mean, we'll talk about some variations that you can do with the dessert too. So it's essentially in its barest form, it's ice cream with a shot of espresso poured over the top. And so we're going to use Moose Tracks tonight. And we're going to do a little bit of a play on that. And we're going to have some fun with it. So we got the ice cream cones here, and we're going to line those with some chocolate, dip them in some the fun. We have some sprinkles and some peanuts here.
Nice.
And you can kind of embellish that too. That could be a broader spectrum of ingredients there.
I can see this being a fun summer project with your family.
It really would be, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could have the whole like smorgasbord of toppings, if you will. So it'd be kind of fun. So
it's a new play on an ice cream bar.
Definitely. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and melt some of the chocolate right now. Just going to toss this in the mic real quick. Just microwave it. This will take about a minute. Now we have two kinds of chocolate chips, and I wanted to talk about both of them. We have this one is a chips.
Yeah, for baking.
So like, so for baking, exactly. And it's interesting. Earlier we were talking about the baking chips, and one of the issues that people have with baking chips is they burn them in the microwave. Well, if you think about the baking chip, it's made so it doesn't break down under heat. And I think people look into the bowl and they don't think they're melted yet because they're still keeping their shape.
Sure.
And so they cook them a little bit too long in the microwave, and that can cause it to burn. So
it dries it out.
It does, yeah. It'll get really crumbly and kind of gritty. So one thing that you can do, and it kind of seems a little foolish in the beginning, but you can pop these in for about 20 seconds and then just go back and give them a stir every once in a while. Don't put your metal spoon in there if kids are watching. No metal spoons in the microwave. But give it a stir, and you'll notice that over time, you'll be able to kind of have that thickness that breaks down a little bit, and it's much more spreadable.
So less time in the microwave, just stirring more often.
Stirring more often, yeah. And you'll probably still end up taking like a minute and a half or so along those lines. So
that's good.
We're going to pop.
I've definitely burned chocolate chips in the microwave.
Yeah, definitely. And white chocolate will burn even faster than dark chocolate will. It has a little bit of more of a burn temp. So I'm just going to pop this in for about a minute.
So do you prefer working with those, I don't know what they're called, the circle morsels?
I do, yeah. So this one that's a really good question. So this is a chocolate that I kind of like working with if you're going to, if you need it to be fluid and pourable. If you don't have that at home, and a lot of people aren't going to have that, right? Most people are going to have chips in their house,
Sure.
kind of hanging around.
Yeah, for when you bake cookies.
Exactly. So you can still melt this and add just a little bit of vegetable oil or coconut oil, even more so, and that will help thin out your chocolate a little bit more, and it will become a bit more viscous. One thing you want to remember, if you do add the vegetable oil into it, it's going to make it pretty much so that it will never really want to like get super hard.
Okay.
So you can just keep your ice cream cones once they're coated in the freezer, and that will help them kind of set up.
Okay.
So we're not quite there yet. We're going to pop that back in.
Okay.
And then we have cake cones here. I have to be honest, I love sugar cones too, like the extra crunchy. So you can totally use the sugar cone in the same way that we're going to use the cake cones.
What's nice about a cake cone though is because it has a flat bottom it can stand.
Does have the flat bottom that can stand. So that has that part for sure. And a little easier to hold on to. And you know, you can do lots of fun kind of crispies on the inside too. I know that we had the peanuts here and the sprinkles, but I mean, if you have any kind of like a dry product, so any kind of nuts would work just fine. Grab this out. Any kind of nuts are going to work just fine. Almonds, you can toast like if you have almonds, you can go ahead and toast those in the oven for just a little bit, kind of bring a little bit more flavor to them. Walnuts are going to work really, really easily.
Okay. So, Cory, we have a fan question.
Okay.
We're going to be putting coffee or espresso in the cone.
Yep.
So, will the coffee or espresso melt the cone?
Everybody wants to know that, right? That's always the question.
You don't want to burn your hand.
You don't, no. And really, so we have espresso that's going to be room temperature here. It's a good question, and it's a good concern too. So what we're going to do when we go through the building of this cone, we're going to show you how you can kind of make it so that it won't do that. It won't break down.
Okay.
Now, if it does, and you have a traumatic experience where you have, you know, coffee kind of coming out the sides, it's super easy. You grab a bowl, you flip it over, you stuff it right in, and it's good to go. So
we've all done that in ice cream.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, actually, that's still the way I think my kids and I order it, is in a bowl with a cone upside down on it. So we can show one of those in a little bit too. And I personally, I would prefer it that way because you can fit more coffee into it, which I think is a great way of doing it. So, all right, so
then, Chef Cory, we have another fan question coming in tonight.
Okay.
Can you make this with iced coffee?
You could absolutely do this with iced coffee. Yeah, you could do it with a cold coffee. And I think, so even beyond coffee, let's talk about like what else you could use. Like room temperature hot chocolate. I would not use boiling hot chocolate, but like room temperature hot chocolate would be really good. Although if you did it with hot chocolate, you could totally do it in a bowl as well. That would be a big mug would be fantastic. Absolutely. So that, and actually like espresso with the hot chocolate would be really good, but any kind of a warm beverage like that, even, and then this is going to be a stretch for some, but like black tea would be really good. I mean, black tea, moose tracks, that kind of chocolatey flavor, it's all going to go really, really well together. So could be really fun. So we're going to go ahead, and you can see this is the chocolate that I had melted down, and it's pretty fluid.
Wow, and that was just about a minute and a half?
This was, a minute and 11 seconds. I always push 111 because I hate pushing buttons on a microwave. So it's, you can ask my wife, everything's 111. Every 30-second increment is 33 seconds. It's just the way it goes. So that's kind of what we do.
I love that.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and line these. And now, again, this is really fluid chocolate.
Sure.
If you had melted the chips and they got kind of thick on you, you could use just a brush for that one too.
A true artiste.
I know, right? I carry these around in my pocket all the time. And you could just go ahead and you could brush on the insides, and that would be easier to apply.
Okay.
You'll probably be able to get a bit thicker of a coat if you use the chips, just because they have that kind of thick consistency that's there.
That's
so to line these, it's kind of fun. We're going to pour it into the what's this thing called?
Cone.
Ice cream cone. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot. We're going to pour it into the ice cream cone and get it about 3/4 of the way up.
Okay.
So it's just at the top where that lip is. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put it right back in the bowl.
Oh, very nice technique.
And it's kind of
very low mess.
Totally low mess. If you have your kids helping you out, if my kids are watching, I love you, but they make a big mess, right? So have a couple pieces of parchment paper out or some newspaper, anything like that. And so we've had this pretty well lined. And I'm just going to go ahead and flip it upside down for a second. We'll do a few of these real quick.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we'll stop there.
Do you spend a lot of time in the kitchen with your kids?
Yeah, we really do cook every day at home. Both of my son and my daughter are they're pretty good cooks. My son's already got the claw motion down and the rock and chop with the knife. Rocky, my daughter, she's starting to use the knife skills a little bit more too. So, and Parker, my son, will actually just go over to the computer now and pull up recipes and just start baking it on his own. So
goodness, that's
pretty cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
Cory, we have another fan question.
All right.
What is your favorite way to make this, with espresso or coffee?
I would go espresso all the way. I think the reason that I would go with it, one, is I love coffee. I've said that a few times now. So the reason I would go with it.
And you love moose tracks.
Yeah, and I love moose tracks, yes. But the reason I would go with it is just has that more like dominant flavor that's going to play along with the moose tracks ice cream.
And you
know,
probably need a little bit less.
You do, yeah, you do, exactly. So you don't have to have it kind of swimming in the coffee. Yeah. It would hold up. So we have that. So we have a few of them coated here.
Okay, and they haven't hardened enough that you can't roll them.
Exactly. So I tip them upside down just so they get a little bit of the excess off of there.
Sure.
And then what you can do, the sprinkles show up so wonderfully. So we'll just pop that down right inside the sprinkles itself. And when you give it a little turn, you can see it just coats the inside really fun.
Great.
So with the peanuts, they're a little bit more challenging to stick. So what we'll do is we'll roll the cone a little bit more in the chocolate around the edge. And then we can actually go in here and kind of roll it around. Now with the peanuts, I thought it was kind of fun too. I like it some like right in the bottom of the cup.
Oh, a little surprise.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of fills it up just in the bottom, just a touch in there.
Looks very gourmet, and so far it's been really simple.
Yeah, super easy to do. You know, the chocolate's pretty forgiving, and it wants to adhere to a lot of things. If you use the chips, even more so, they will stick because it has that kind of like thicker body to it.
Do you have a shorter time when you're using chips before it hardens?
No, I think they hold pretty well. You're probably looking at the same thing. And when we look at that time span, we're just at room temperature right now.
Okay.
If it's warmer, obviously you're going to have, if it's 75, 80 degrees in your house, if it's during the summertime, you're going to have a longer window. Whether, excuse me, if it was cool, it's Michigan. So it gets, I don't know, we keep our house like 68 in the wintertime. So it's going to set up a little bit faster that way too. So, just kind of just think about it just a little bit, where things are setting up. So that's what we have for these parts and pieces here. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to toss these in the freezer. We have a few that we have set up that we're ready to go, and we can pull those out. We'll grab the Moose Tracks ice cream out and we'll see if we can get making.
Sounds great.
Good deal.
While you're doing that, we have a fan question. Can you buy these Moose Tracks aprons online? I'm glad you asked. You cannot. But please comment if you're interested in it, because this team here runs the Moose Tracks merch shop, and we're always looking for new things to add to our store. So if you go to moosetracks.com/merch, you can see everything that's available right now. And if you guys like the apron, I'm happy to try to make that happen on our website with our merch team. Great question.
I'm just going to switch these up.
I have a Moose Tracks chocolate fact queued up for you guys. There are those melt in your mouth peanut butter cups and Moose Tracks ice cream. And notice I said melt in your mouth. However, they're staying hard in ice cream. That's because the peanut butter cups and Moose Tracks are specially formulated by confectionery experts so that they melt at 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So when you put that hard, cold peanut butter cup in your mouth, it melts perfectly. You get that nice chocolatey taste, but it's not messy all over your spoon. It's not until it reaches your mouth that it's good and warm.
Yeah, it's pretty well thought out.
Isn't that cool?
It absolutely is.
You didn't really think about how peanut butter cups for ice cream are specially formulated.
I did not. No, I have not spent an extended amount of time thinking about peanut butter cups.
But it explains when you buy a store-bought peanut butter cup and put in your ice cream, it's a little waxy, a little colder.
It'll do that. So it's specially formulated specifically for that idea.
They have to stay frozen the whole time.
It's pretty fantastic.
Yes.
Good deal. So these are the ones that we had that came out of the freezer. They're all nice and cold and set up. I'm going to grab the ice cream, and what we're going to do is go ahead and fill these.
Okay, while you do that, I will be right back.
All right. All right. So we have some of the Moose Tracks original ice cream, and what we're going to do is we have all of the cups that are already filled up, right? So we have that nice chocolate shell that's on the interior. And that will actually help protect the cone a little bit from the coffee that's going to get poured in there, and also the ice cream. You know, as we all eat ice cream, and Moose Tracks will be no different if you have it, especially on a hot kind of summer day. It's going to start to melt a little bit, get a little smushy in the ice cream cone. So this would actually help out, kind of hold and bond the ice cream that's in there, keep it from leaking out around the edges. So what we're going to do is just take a little bit of the Moose Tracks, and this is original here. Soften it up just a little bit so we can put some of the ice cream on the interior.
Fun tip in the ice cream industry, we call it tempering.
Tempering, that's right.
You have to temper the ice cream to the optimal scoopability.
Is that a scientific-y
Yes,
term?
it's a sciencey term.
Sciencey term,
Cory.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
All right, so we don't want to pack this in too tight right now. And if you can kind of see, we have a little bit of open spaces that are in here. The reason that if we kept pushing it down and down and down, the coffee wouldn't have anywhere to go. So you pour it on top and
little
it's
overflow.
it would go everywhere, right? Exactly. So what we'll do, we have a little extra cracks here, and we'll have just a little bit of our coffee. And we're going to add just a touch of this in. And I pour it directly, just kind of right on top of the ice cream itself.
Okay.
Get a little dribble, that's part of the experience.
Absolutely.
And then we can add some more ice cream to the top of this too. So we're going to grab some of the Moose Tracks, and
Yeah, get some of the good Moose Tracks fudge in there.
That's where I'm kind of all about. I always kind of save that part for the last.
That's the whole point, right?
Exactly. So we'll put some of that on here.
That's looking delicious.
Absolutely. And again, if you're not a coffee fan, it's pretty easy to fill in other things. I think the great part about this recipe, just in general, this is fun. I really like it. It's so cool. Like Affogato, it really is one of my favorite things. So one of my favorite parts about this is, like, you could use it for a bunch of different toppings. If you didn't even want to do coffee in it, right? Just the lining of the ice cream itself, using different toppings. And I think we had
you don't even need the liquid. That's just a cool way to eat an ice cream
Exactly.
cone.
Yeah, you could just have it just be on its own. And the liquid could be syrups. It could be different kinds of toppings. My God, the kind of list could go on and on. So we have all the sprinkles. We have the nuts. Any kind of fresh fruit would be really awesome too.
That would be great.
Yeah, you just brush the inside with a little bit of the chocolate there, and then you could pile some fruit in the bottom, because fruit will tend to make the cones get a little bit soft too.
Okay.
But
and you could pre-make these cones, couldn't you?
You could, absolutely.
So if you're having a party, you could dip all these cones and leave them out?
Yeah, I would want to be super clean. So if I was going to do that, I would dip a whole bunch of them first. And then you could, put the toppings on and put them in your freezer and just let them hang out until you're ready to go. And I wouldn't even get them out until you're ready kind of to serve the ice cream. You can bring, the Moose Tracks out, let it temper up for, 5 minutes or so.
Good word.
I used it, right? It's my scientific word. And we'll let that soften up. And then you can add your ice cream in. Then if you have, the larger cones, you could do a little bit of fruit on the top.
Sure.
If you have the smaller cones, you could do kind of fruit on the bottom. I think it would hold it a little bit easier. But yeah, you could do just a ton of different kind of fun toppings with that one. Now, I'm going to make, we have the cone there, which is a blast.
Yes,
but I'm going to make
awesome.
the kind of the one I would be drawn to, I think, most. And that would be the bowl. And the reason I'm drawn to the bowl so much is because of the extra coffee that gets to go in there, and honestly, the extra ice cream. Yes, exactly, exactly.
You can never have too much.
No.
And they kind of cancel each other out. Although maybe too much Moose Tracks and espresso, you might be jumping.
You could be bouncing off the walls.
Maybe it's a good way to start the day.
Energy drink, exactly. It's the new breakfast of champions.
Forget the acai breakfast smoothie bowl. We're having a Moose Tracks bowl.
That's right.
So, Chef Cory, while you're working on this, what's your favorite thing to bake?
My favorite thing to bake, I used to chuckle, when we talk about it in class, it was whichever one the customers wanted to buy was always my favorite thing to bake. But I will say, after having kids, I think that's changed a little bit. And my favorite thing to bake is usually whichever recipe my kids pull offline. So I'm kind of
researchers.
They do, yeah.
That's
My son will pull up a recipe, and it started off with like, what's the easiest thing I can make? And then it gets a little bit more and a little bit more. And last summer as a family, we made souffles, which was kind of cool. So we did those in the oven. So yeah, I mean, those are some of my favorite memories, family baking wise.
My husband and I have been working on scones, and we just got the pastry cutter that used to cut the butter.
Yep,
That's
to
been
cut
really
all the butter
fun.
in. Awesome. Yeah,
It made it a lot easier.
It definitely does. But then trying to work it in with your hands.
Yes,
you can use a food
they were very crumbly.
They definitely will do that. So with the bowl, we have the Moose Tracks that's right in there. And again, I kind of like it because you can load it up with bunches of fun toppings on there too.
Oh, awesome.
This is kind of cool too. If you still have the chocolate that's melted, you could stream it on now, and it kind of does like that whole shell kind of, crispy extra pieces in there. Yep.
For the oils and
exactly.
The chocolate.
Yep. It would seize up just a little bit, and then we'll have just some extra ice cream that can go on the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Extra coffee that can go on the bottom there.
Okay, kind of absorbed in there.
It really does, and it kind of makes like between the Moose Tracks and the coffee itself. You guys can see. I mean, this has been. We had questions: would it leak? Would it melt? This has been sitting here for a few minutes now, no issues whatsoever. So we have that.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm thinking, if you're adding espresso to it, and you're going in a cake cone, you're going to want to go about a half a shot to 3/4 of a shot of espresso, right?
So if you're doing chocolate milk for your kids, just a splash.
Just a splash in there, yeah, and make sure that everybody's encouraged to eat from the top down, not do one of those, otherwise it'd be a bit of a mess.
Point.
But that one's always my favorite too. Like,
I love it. That looks awesome.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And again, there's so many possibilities. Moose Tracks. It's just think of the flavors, right? You got the chocolate that's in there, the vanilla, all those delicious parts and pieces play well with so many other toppings that you could use off.
They're our favorite dessert flavors for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of possibilities, we had a fan question: how many Moose Tracks flavors are there? And I will take that because you look confused.
I don't know.
There's over a dozen flavors of Moose Tracks that are available in grocery stores across the U.S. and Canada.
That's pretty fantastic.
I know. We even have more developed as prototypes.
Yeah.
So that can fluctuate.
I still want to ask what they are
I can tell you about one that we've been working on.
Yeah.
We just did a video on it. It's cookie dough Moose Tracks.
Oh, sweet.
So it's cookie dough flavored ice cream with a famous Moose Tracks fudge, of course, and really buttery chocolate chip cookie dough.
Yeah, my wife.
It's heavenly.
That's like their bag. My wife and kids, they make cookie dough just to eat the cookie dough, not to make the cookies.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. Don't look down on us.
That's a good prototype. That's a sellable, wonderful, delicious flavor right there.
We're hopeful fans that you'll weigh into your favorite brand that carries Moose Tracks.
Absolutely.
Shameless plug. I have to do it right. So fans, we want to hear from you. Do you have any questions while we have Chef Cory here with us tonight? We'll wait for our wonderful tech team to pull those up for us.
Absolutely.
I might have to dig into some of this.
You can have one.
I'm a big sprinkles fan.
Are you? Do you need extra sprinkles? I have a sprinkly spoon there if you want to go for it.
I might sprinkle myself one. I don't have a place to put it, so I'm going to make a mess.
Oh, here, you know what? You can sprinkle right over that.
Thank you.
You betcha.
You betcha. You're so Midwestern.
I know I am.
Can you guys, people tuning in, tell that we are Midwestern by our accent?
Do we have an accent?
Yes, we do. So, Chef Cory, did you go to culinary school?
I did. I went to culinary school in Muskegon, Michigan. Like I said, now I teach at culinary school in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and it's a great experience to kind of go full circle. I went to culinary school initially, and I did not get a pastry degree originally, and then I kind of found out, like, over time, I really like the measuring and the weighing and the scaling.
Sure, I was going to say pastry is kind of a science, right?
It is, yeah. And it's a science that has freedom as long as you learn the rules. It's kind of like ice cream making is. There's rules that go into ice cream making, and if you follow them, you also can, kind of figure out how to bend them and stretch them a lot.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the fun part for me with pastries, with anything that we're making. We actually made some ice creams the other day in class, and so it was fun to talk about, if you have a certain quantity of milk, how you can leave some of that out and add fruit purees in its place. And we talk a lot about water content, sugar content, and things like that. So yeah, solids, definitely. So all those kinds of fun things. And that, I think pastry just kind of captured me like that. So I was always interested in that part.
That's great. We have another fan question. What other Moose Tracks desserts could you make?
My gosh, this could go on and on. I mean, if we just stayed in the ice cream line, right? So I always look at ice cream too. So I look at this wonderful container, and I can also see how you could take it and kind of open it and slice the ice cream down, right?
Cool.
So if you have a frozen cake, then you can layer a layer of the ice cream that's frozen. I would not scoop it. I would totally grab a knife and I would cut this open. I would peel it around. Now this is like this is not tempered, firm out of the freezer, right? So and cut that down, and then you can make your slices. You can go right on top of a piece of cake. That's a great way to
make a really clean sandwich.
Exactly. You can do a really nice ice cream sandwich. And I would recommend, for me, I think with ice cream sandwiches, I recommend cake over cookies. The reason I recommend that is because when I was a kid, you do the ice cream sandwich thing, and you go to bite into it, and it kind of runs out the sides.
Yes.
Cake gives more, so that's going to have a little bit
has
softer.
a better, softer bite.
Exactly. So like this with
that's a good
chocolate
tip.
cake that's baked not too thick. If you bake it like a half an inch thick, yes, you'll have to adjust the baking times on it, but
Okay.
it'll be really, really
So
good.
if you think of like the chocolate ice cream sandwich cookies you had as a kid that come in the white wrapper, those are really more the consistency of a cake.
Exactly.
They're
Yeah,
not
really.
very
And there's a
cookie-like.
reason they were like that, so you can bite through them a little bit easier.
Yes.
It's a fun one.
All right. Well, Chef Cory, we just want to thank you for being here with us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you
love
so much.
this. Thanks for joining the first ever Moose Tracks live cooking event. Hopefully we'll have you back and we can do this again.
Yeah, it'd be a blast.